So I'm actually here to film something else that's very notable in the area. You can hear the traffic. We are right on the road. It was just purely, I looked across here, and yeah, you can hear we're right on the road. I'm parked there, and this is just part of that house. Although the house is gone, there's still so much of the gardens to come and see. Incredible to find it still here. Well, I said there could be more here, and I was right. Look at that. It's still a pond, and by golly is it deep. It's the same, similar dimensions to the other one we saw in the other video. But I've got to say, from surface down to that, it's seriously deep. And it's still filled with water, but it's right opposite, in that direction. I could see the woodland where that other big pond was, but there is still more of James Vavasseur's house to be found. Incredible. And this is right by the road. Astonishing to still find this still here preserved. Well, I won't say preserved, but it's still in a state that you can recognise it as a pond. And I can see a little ledge areas, it's tiered, what looks like where the water spring little fountain would have been. So we're going to have a quick look at that. So we've got a little ledge here which was either for some sort of waterfall, but the surrounding tiered parts, I imagine, were planted gardens, but you could clearly see the shape of the round basin. And as I say, it's still full of water. I imagine it was a lot deeper. The water probably rose a lot further up. But my God, I can't even imagine how deep this one is. This man loved these ponds. It's funny, I'm just going to add this because it's just so, I thought I'd found everything is to found. I've said that last time on those two videos, but just discovering that at the front of the road, I'm here filming something else. There's another story that I'm doing for a video that I've got to get out end of the week, but I've come up here and I'm going, why haven't I found this? That other pond was right by the road. I suppose you're whizzing past at such a rate, you don't notice these things. So, but I've come back up to where we filmed this pond because I want to get a bit more. It's now building up a bit of symmetry into where the ponds were, where the garden layout was, and I just really wish we had some sort of plans of the gardens, but I think it's just been lost in time and history. So there's a few things I want to investigate here, but to find more of that, the pond at the front was just incredible, and it's such a shame that in one way it's romantic that it's still there, hidden away, and people like myself find that, document it, that others, yourselves, can see that. But you know, it's just, I mean, I've not even brought Navi with me today because I want to do this other video, but it's sort of got me intrigued more about this house again. You know, that's potentially 3 videos I've got out of this one place. You know, what else has James Vavasseur hidden, you know, away in here? If we could strip it all back and, you know, look from the air, look down, you know, what would we find? Who knows? Well, again, there's another pond. I can now show an overlay of what I think. I'll show you the layout using Google Earth, Google Maps, satellite view of airplane view, and I outline what you're seeing is the boundary of the Chevening estate, Knockholt Main Road, and where these ponds are in relation to the marks and where I assume the earth mounds and the earthworks of the old house and the demolished ruins of that are underneath. So you can see how big his front gardens were in relation to the rear gardens of where the house was. This little estate was huge. You know, he had some vast acreage of land up here. But this is another pond. I can see brickwork through there. I can't get into it yet though. So I'm going to walk around it. It's just handy not having Navi here today, because he bounds around. There's a lot of pheasants because that's the Chevening estate, and the gamekeeper wouldn't be too happy with a Springer Spaniel. But these lines of trees, I've always said, where there's fields and you get shores that break them up, quite often they're there for a reason, because there's something hidden or being preserved or listed that's worth just taking a bit of a look at. Right, well, I walked further right down, and excuse the sun glare, I haven't got filters out with me today. I didn't think I'd need them, but that over there is the round pond that works symmetrical with the one by the road. Well, I'm walking down this shore now to see if there's anything in there, but with the brambles, if they're hiding something, a wall or something, I can't see. Okay, excuse the pointer, but this is another pond, Grand Pond, and it goes down along to the a smaller pond, and it heads off to one of the entrances of the old house, which I've filmed before on the first video. Then this second line is just wood. All I can find in there is metal railings, Victorian style railings. Directly down from where we are here, if you walk straight down this path, will take you out to the road to where that pond at the beginning of this video I've just discovered by the road. So you would have had that pond and this pond, and right over in the distance between all of them is the big pond from the second video, the Devil's Ponds, from the house on the hill. So there was definitely 3 major ponds with one smaller pond out here, and I imagine there's probably going to have been more then if it was symmetrical down by the road, but it's probably been infilled, and then a series of smaller ponds in the woods. Well, history hides itself, but I've always said push on, and there we go. I'm just coming in. This is so overgrown, but we've got huge amounts of brick stone walling in this undergrowth, and I'm not going to venture in because it is so undergrown, but I could tell you now this is as big a basin as the rest, because it goes all the way around, but this one's far too overgrown for me to see much at all. Wow, this garden must have looked amazing with all these ponds. My God, there is so much here. There's a huge spine wall. Now this one, like the other one, is similar, with a spine wall running through there, going to the outer ponds. So I think this is similar to the one further along, but it's still vast. It goes, it's hard to scale this, but it goes right out and around the far perimeter, which I can't get to. I've just walked around when we came round to this, all the way back, and then back to where we are on the path here. Well, this is incredible. There's more of this. So I do think these two ponds are the same. I'll do the overlay again. These two ponds are the same design, and with the ornate brickwork, and on the outer perimeter the two bigger ponds, which are so deep, unbelievably deep. Why they needed to be so deep, I do not know. They're definitely forming the boundary sort of lines of the garden. Now I'm sure the garden went on further, because there's evidence that part of this land was sold back to the Chevening estate and the rest of it was leased by the Knockolt Tree Enthusiasts Club, and who look after and manage the woodlands brilliantly today. I forget their proper name, but I'll put a link back in on this one at the bottom of the video, because they do a lot of work managing those woods and keeping them lovely for people like us to come and walk around with our dogs or just have picnics or whatever. But this wonderful, wonderful bit of history that's hidden, and I could just see some more water pooling down there, but there is no way I'm walking in there, not my own today. I've done it to myself. This is unbelievable. What's here? There's just no mention of it. There's the mill, and I was just wrapping that video as saying me goodbyes, which you'll see after this clip, with regards to fencing, which I believe is the part of the boundary of all this. The house would have been right up there in that field. I'm trying to work it out now, with right in that field. Those trees there where that first pond at the beginning of this video we found. But it's happened again. There's more. There's a lot more. And oh my God, this is big. This, I'm gonna say, is it bigger? Is this the biggest one we've found yet? Oh my God. This is huge. This isn't even it. They've got, this is a smaller pond here, but you've got, it goes up to a little curve there along this wall to a right angle, and then back down into there, and you've got this outer wall, but that is hiding this. I just do not believe this is all here. Crikey, this is colossal. Goes right out. I use my pointer right round. You can see some houses. That's the road. You'll see a cargo pass in a moment, and it curves right back round to another section. We'll go down there, but look how deep this is. So this has obviously been infilled somewhat. My God, this man had a thing for ponds. I'll keep this rolling as we walk because I'm trying to get across to you the scale of this. This is huge. Now this throws my landscaping and directioning into question, because it definitely shows that that mill was something to do with this man. But this vast double ponds, I'm standing in the crater of one of them, an upper tier, and then over this huge, it's like a castle, 3 foot thick castle wall. The cost of this, just to build these ponds, must have been staggering. And it goes right down in there. So I've come out into this field from that pond we've just been in, and there's this huge deep void, sinkhole in this field, and it's exactly next to this one. So I imagine this was probably either a lake, a huge pond again, could have even been bricked like that, but it's been demolished when this field perhaps may have been sold. There's footpaths running all through it, but I don't think they're proper footpaths. They just are well worn and well trodden by dog walkers. But just in case it is private land, which I suspected it is, I'm not going to hang around too long in here. But that is clearly a man-made depression, and it, you know, obviously smack bang next to that one would have been a pair of double ponds. I can't end this video. I just cannot believe this. So that depression's there. There's another great big pond here. Just can't get into this one at all, but I can tell that it goes down a long way. I've not seen any sign of brickwork, but this shore and everything's just grown around it. And I'm going to walk back up and back to where I'm sort of familiar with, but the acreage of land this man had. And I am looking through it. I can see brickwork in there, and I found a little hole in, so we'll have a little peep. Yep, bingo. There's our brick wall in, and this is in worse condition in here, but there's, looks like the foundations of some of the old bricks. Now this is different. I haven't seen this before. This looks like a ledge. I'm assuming a waterfall ledge. And we've got a huge area. I can tell it's circular again. I'm going to try and put this on plan from memory of where it's all is hidden away. But again, another colossal pond. Well, this just goes on and on and on. This wall, I found a sort of brick. I'm on the outer perimeter of this pond, so I'm standing within it. And again, it's huge. Looks to be a familiar pattern, well, designed to the rest of them as it goes round. But it's just so overgrown in here. But it definitely goes down to a deep sink basin there. And again, there's more of these Victorian rails, handrails. Say handrails, you know, perimeter fencing. Same one we found at the swimming pool, the pool house, at various parts. But I'm now done full circle, coming back round to where that field is with a sinkhole. This has turned out to be a bit of a mission. Now it begs the question, what are we up to now? I'm losing count. 1, 2, assuming 3, 4 that we just found, 5 the existing one, 6, 7 ponds, plus the 2 little ones that are in the woods behind where the house would have been. But I'm walking up to what I know is going to be even more ponds, if they're all following a sort of distinct pattern, which I can identify now on Google, the layout of these ponds around. So he showed that he wanted to show off his mill as well, as part of his land, his wealth. My God, the brickwork here is phenomenal. So that's the one we've just come up from. I'm going to assume this is a pond as well. It's the roundness of them. They're forming along the line of fences, but it's so overgrown. Really have to sort of work to get into them. It's perfectly round. The grass has been cut, and I can see more of the fencing, the metal ironwork in there, and I can just about tell, yeah, it goes down to a sink point down in there. So we've got another pond, makes 8 I think. See these patches? They're quite noticeable from the air, and I noticed something else through that gap in the hedge over there that looked quite strange as a feature in the land. I mean, you've got to remember they only really discovered Woodhenge as some of the medieval, well, Stone Age, Bronze Age earthworks from the air. So I wonder if this was the remnants of flower beds, water gardens. They're all in patches, and you'll see that in the photograph. What strikes me is, how did they pump the water up here? Because at the series of ponds, the water that was needed for them, there's no river here. They must have used a pumping engine in that mill, tapping into a subterranean spring. That is all I can assume. I really hope, for anyone watching this, it's more information, as I said before. But it's an incredible story, and it just shows you there is still so much around us when you go out for a walk that you can discover. Well, I've had a look about a little bit more, but I've got to get on with this other video. That incidentally behind me, that is the old mill, the old cotton mill, and that is where at the base, again on the map, you could see, I believe that belonged to Vavasseur. It was part of his empire, and it's now been converted into luxury apartments with some of the outbuildings still there, and again they've been converted too. So it's lovely that it's been preserved and has a second use rather than just be demolished and cleared. But it's quite a beautiful looking building. I do actually remember when they did the renovation, but it's still there and gives you a little bit of a landmark to where to find these ponds. So again, I'm not going to say that's it, that's all to see, because I keep surprising myself every time I walk around it, and I think I covered the ground pretty much now. And hopefully, if there's any historians watching that know more about this, please leave some comments in the links, get in touch with me. You know, I'd love to, you know, be involved in some sort of survey on this. This would be incredible to sort of get some plans of the layout, the landscaping of this place. But okay, I've got to get on with this week's video, and I'll get this one out sometime in the future because I've got a few planned now, and we'll go from there. But thanks for watching. Cheers.